All right, let's dive into the story of a tiny creature you can find on shores all over the world. It's a creature with one feature that is absolutely giant, and honestly, a little mysterious.
So let me start you off with a little riddle. What tiny animal scurries around our beaches with one claw that's so big it can literally be half of its entire body weight? I mean, we're talking about a comically oversized arm here. And what if I told you it doesn't even use this giant claw to eat? Nope. Instead, it waves it back and forth, almost like it's playing an instrument, which is exactly how it got its musical name. Any ideas?
Well, it's time to meet the star of our show, the fiddler crab. This little guy is the tiny musician of the shore, and that giant claw, that's its instrument for a performance that's all about love and war.
And you know, when we say giant claw, you really got to keep in mind just how tiny these crabs are. Most of them are only 2 to 3 centimeters wide. Just try to picture that, something about the size of a postage stamp carrying a weapon that's half its own weight. It's just wild. So where does this little performer live? Well, its stage is this incredible world that's defined by the constant rhythm of the ocean. It's a place that's dry land one moment and the seafloor the next.
This whole area is called the intertidal zone, and believe me, it's a tough place to make a living, always changing between wet and dry. You'll see these crabs darting across sandy beaches, muddy flats, and in lagoons. They're perfectly built for this world in between. And in this crazy, dynamic place, its home is surprisingly simple. It's just a hole dug into the sand or mud. But don't let that simplicity fool you, okay? This burrow is absolutely critical for survival. And as you're about to see, it's the ultimate prize in our story. And now for the main event, that famous wave that gives the fiddler crab its name. This is where that giant claw finally comes into play, and you'll see it is all about putting on a show. Okay, so here's the most important detail. Only the male crabs have this giant claw. He's got one huge claw for show and one teeny tiny one for eating. The female, on the other hand, she has 2 small, practical claws that are both just for food. That one single difference, it's the key to this entire story. Now, you'd probably think that massive claw is for crushing shells or maybe fighting off predators, right? Wrong. Its main job has almost nothing to do with food or fighting. It is for one thing and one thing only: performing. It's a communication tool.
So what's the show all about? Well, the male stands near his burrow and waves that giant claw, sending out a signal that says 2 things at once. To any female crabs watching, it's an invitation. Hey, check me out. I'm a great choice for a mate. And to the other males, it's a clear warning. This is my turf. Back off.
But you know, the male is only half the story. All of this elaborate waving and showing off is for an audience of one, the female. She is the discerning judge of this entire performance, and her choice, well, it has huge consequences for the next generation. The whole ritual basically unfolds in 4 acts. First, the male starts his wave. Then comes the judgment. The female watches super closely, and she's not just looking at the claw's size, but the style, the energy of his performance. If she's impressed, she makes her choice, and then she'll follow him back to that simple burrow, which is the place she'll lay her eggs, trusting their future entirely to him.
So what is she really looking for?
Well, it turns out that claw is what we call an honest signal. A male who's strong enough to have and wave a giant claw is probably also strong enough to dig a deep, spacious burrow. And a better burrow means the eggs stay at just the right temperature, giving the babies the best possible shot at survival. So she isn't just choosing a mate, she's choosing an architect. Okay, so the drama of the fiddler crab's love life is pretty captivating, right? But let's zoom out for a second, because this tiny creature plays a surprisingly huge role in the health of its entire ecosystem. It's a true unsung hero of the beach. This is where those small claws come back into the picture. Both the males and the females use them to scoop up sand and mud, sifting through it all for tiny bits of food, like microscopic plants and animals. They're basically the beach's little cleanup crew.
And really, their importance just can't be overstated. By sifting through all that sand for food, they're cleaning it. By digging thousands of burrows, they're constantly turning over the sediment and bringing oxygen down into it, which keeps the whole ecosystem healthy. And get this, their old burrows even become homes for other, smaller creatures. They might be tiny, but their collective impact is just monumental.
And all this kind of leaves us with one final thought. The fiddler crab is this perfect reminder that even the smallest creatures can have a massive impact on the world around them. It really makes you wonder, doesn't it? What other tiny creatures are out there, playing these giant, unseen roles in our world?